How's it going, guys? It's Rage Gamer here for another Black Ops 3 video, and today we're going to be looking at the Fast Hands perk. Is it useful? Is it effective? Should you run it in Black Ops 3 multiplayer? We're going to be looking at that today. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this at the end of the video. So let's get into it then without any further ado. So basically, Fast Hands perk, supposedly what it does is actually decreases the amount of time taken to do two things. One, switch between two weapons. So you could have an assault rifle switch to a pistol or vice versa, or the second thing it does actually is when you're sprinting and then aiming in after you've sprinted, that animation, that time is reduced when you're using this perk, so it's very useful. I've kind of run this quite a lot, but I wanted to actually look at it today, and I'm sure some of you would find this useful as well. So basically, first of all, what I did is I obviously tested the weapon. Different camos show different perks and stuff. I'll show you exactly the difference between the setups, but the first setup I had was just the gun itself and a pistol alongside it, and I kept swapping back and forth. Now I held the aim button in, so it was just easier to show, because what would happen is every time it switched swap weapon, it would automatically aim in as soon as it could, so it's just easier to kind of detect that change rather than swapping it normally. So why it's aiming in was because I'm holding down the aim button the whole time. Then I did the same thing with the other setup that was the same guns, but this time I had the Fast Hands perk on, and we can see obviously the difference here is timed. Obviously it's not perfect, and this is obviously not actual, well, it is a certain time, but I'm not exactly sure what the time is. The editing software I use has its own sort of units, so don't take that as actual seconds or milliseconds or anything like that. I'm not exactly sure myself, and I don't want to give you the wrong number or anything. All I'm going to say is that that's how long, when I slowed it down, that's how long it took with the left click. That was, without any fast hands, and on the right, it took 14 of whatever the standardized amount of time, is, and that was with fast hands as well. So you can see the difference. It's a difference of 5, which is about 20. In this case, the difference actually I worked out was about just slightly more than a 26% decrease in time taken to aim in. So getting a little bit driftery on you there with some stupid, so I don't know. So that's that, and then now we're going to looking at the other parts of it. That's the kind of the sprinting, and that sprinting action from when you sprint until you aim in. So first of all, I had the normal weapon, and obviously I was doing the same with my pistol as well, and then afterwards what I did is I did the same thing, but obviously with fast hands. And you can see, even in the video clips, you can actually see there's a bit of a difference. On this one I didn't actually bother putting the time in, because it was a bit more difficult, because it wasn't just a standard aim in, it was kind of like I was sprinting from a certain point, and I didn't want to get it wrong. I felt like it'd be more inaccurate by doing that. So what I did is I slowed it down, put it side by side, but I haven't put any numbers. So you can see for yourself, roughly at about the same time I start to aim in, roughly, but there's a little bit of a difference there. So, but you can generally see that this is, so it is actually quite effective. And what I generally say is that if you're using kind of more of those close range weapons like pistols, SMGs, shotguns if you're aiming and that kind of thing, then generally I like to go for the Fast Hands perk. In terms of the aiming in part when you're sprinting, because you're sprinting with SMGs and shotguns and things, you're not going to be doing that with like LMGs and stuff, or at least you won't as much. Talking about LMGs and all that stuff, those kind of longer range weapons like assault rifles and LMGs and snipers, that kind of thing. Well, actually I'll talk about snipers in a minute. Those weapons generally, obviously, you stay further back with, because they've got a longer range, and therefore because of that you're not going to be sprinting around corners a lot. And therefore I'd actually say, if you're using an assault rifle, generally, sometimes this might change, but generally I'd say don't go for it if you're using like an assault rifle or an LMG or something like that, unless you feel you really need it. So I mean, it is a useful perk if you're using things like SMGs. And then for snipers, I'd obviously use it for switching weapons or something like that. So if you're using a setup where you've got two weapons and you want to switch between them, then definitely this will be a good one as well if you're getting close to those people. So that's been my kind of guide of fast hands. Yes, it is useful. You can see how useful it is here, and like about 26% decrease in terms of the time taken to swap weapons. But generally, I'd just say depends on what kind of class you're running. So if you haven't checked out the video I did a few days ago about the myth with suppressors, a lot of people have been falling for that myth, so make sure you go and check out that video. Make sure, if there's any other videos you haven't checked out recently of mine, that'd be absolutely great. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys on another video very soon.